Welcome back to another edition of Animal General with me, your host, Dr. Mike Hutchinson. Today, I'm going to talk about the mother of all emergencies. Well, that's what the veterinarians at the emergency clinics call it. I'm talking about bloat, or gastric dilatation and volvulus, GDV, or gastric dilatation. Let me explain what that is, because it's a scary thing, and I want you to be able to recognize symptoms of it so that you don't wait. So gastric dilatation and volvulus, or bloat, is the simple term, is when the dog's stomach fills up with gas, and then that's the bloat, and then it can twist, and that's the volvulus. So gastric dilatation, it fills up with gas, and then it twists. And that becomes a vital emergency in our pets. And why does it occur? What causes this? And what can we do about it? And what can we do to prevent it, hopefully? Well, I've been a veterinarian 30 plus years now, and we still don't know the cause of bloat in dogs. We know things that lead up to it, but nobody really knows the true cause. I was an ER doctor for about 7.5 years out of my career. I've seen over 800 bloats. So I can share some experience about those bloats that will help people, because what I had seen, I saw it over and over and over. And when things are repeatable that way, maybe we have some clues that could perhaps help us prevent these from occurring in our dogs. So how serious is bloat? If your dog begins to show symptoms of bloat, usually within 2 hours to 3 hours, your dog could be in shock, and it's almost always 100% fatal if you don't treat it. That's how serious it is. And we call it the mother of all emergencies because it's non-traumatic. Your dog could be just acting normally. And when does it occur? How does it occur? So we know it's very, very serious. Well, it's usually the large breed dogs like the German Shepherds, the Labradors, the Great Danes, the deep-chested breeds, even Basset Hounds and Standard Poodles. Those dogs will go and have a normal meal, and then they'll drink some water, they'll gulp some air. It's usually the fast eaters. And then we think what happens is they go out and play, and they swallow more air, they get excited, and this is when it happens. As an emergency veterinarian, I told you I saw over 800 of these. In private practice for the next 23 years or 24 years, maybe I've seen a total of 5. Why is that? Well, that leads to what the probable causes are, the things that lead up to it. We know that most of the dogs eat at night, and then they have a meal. They might drink a lot more water at night, and then they go outside and play for an hour or two before they go to bed, and this is when it seems to occur. So the regular veterinarian isn't open during the day, so it ends up at night. Usually during the day, we're out working, and our dogs are laying down and being quiet. They're not out there running around and swallowing air, if you will. So what allows the body or allows the stomach to twist? Well, let me get into the treatments for these. When your dog, or the symptoms first, when your dog starts to show symptoms, the first thing that they'll do is they'll start to act restless. They'll start to act painful. That could be a lot of things. But when our dog is acting uncomfortable, it bothers all of us. Eventually, their abdomen will swell up and it will look very, very hard, almost like a basketball's in there. Maybe they swallowed a basketball. That's what it looks like. It gets very, very bloated, if you will. But before that time, it's painful. And a lot of these dogs will try to vomit, and they'll just be getting up foam. It'll be a non-productive vomit. They'll keep trying. They'll keep trying. And that's very upsetting to us. If you see those symptoms, please call your veterinarian or your emergency clinic and get your dog on the way, because that is almost always the early sign of bloat. So what do we do, and what allows that stomach to twist over? If it just dilated, they're not going to die from that. It's when it twists that it causes all the trouble. When the stomach twists, it ties off blood vessels. It twists off the blood supply to the stomach. The spleen is attached to the stomach by a ligament. It's called the gastrosplenic ligament. So a lot of times the spleen will twist as well, and that blood supply will get tied off. Now we have bacteria that are normally present in the digestive tract, in the stomach and in the intestines. They can start dying and producing endotoxins, which is a poison basically that will get into the bloodstream, cause endotoxemia, which is just like a poisoning, endotoxins in the bloodstream, and that can travel to other parts of the body and cause shock. It can cause the heart muscle to get inflamed. We call that myocarditis. And then they start throwing arrhythmias, and eventually they die. It's very, very painful, and a horrible, horrible event to witness. So if you notice it, the first thing you do is you take it to your veterinarian. What are we going to do when we see it? We're going to try to relieve that bloat as quickly as possible. Typically what we do is we decompress them. We start letting the gas out. We'll sometimes pass a tube. We have to anesthetize them, pass a tube, and see if we can get the stomach to untwist. And as an emergency veterinarian, I had a lot of experience with that, and I could say that 95% of the time, we could get that stomach to untwist and get them out of shock. And then we'd put them on fluids, we'd put them on antibiotics, and we would start treating the symptoms. If their heart started to have irregular beats, we would treat them for that, and we would try to calm their body down to get it back to normal. But that wasn't the end of it. 90% plus of those dogs, if you didn't go in and do surgery to tack down the stomach to prevent it from twisting again, usually within 2 months, they were back in the ER with the same exact symptoms of bloat. That's how serious it is. So what we would do is surgically go in and tack the stomach to the abdominal wall, the outside of the stomach to the abdominal wall, so that it could still bloat, but it couldn't twist. And the twist is what causes the vital emergency that could end up in death. So we don't know exactly what allows that stomach to twist on itself. We know that there's a combination of food, water, and air. But why do the nerves all of a sudden relax? We don't know. Maybe there is some indigestion going on in those nerves that innervate the stomach lining and the intestinal linings. When we do surgery, a lot of people wouldn't know this unless you were a surgeon, but when we do surgery and we have to move intestines out of the way, if we're, say, taking out a growth or maybe even doing something where the intestines are in the way, when we put them back in, they find their own place. They don't have to be put right back exactly where they were. And that's because of the vagal tone, the vagus nerve. One of the nerves that innervates them allows them to just kind of find their own place. Well, in bloats, when we would go into those surgically, sometimes you had to put that stomach in place. You had to move it in place. The intestines didn't easily go back to where they belonged. So there could have been some kind of indigestion. So what do we do to prevent this? Well, we can try to feed them small meals, never let them exercise an hour before or an hour, hour and a half after they eat, especially large breed dogs. This occurs a lot in older dogs, but I've seen it in 2-year-old dogs. I actually saw it one time in a puppy. So it can occur in any age dog, any size, but we have to be able to try to prevent it in feeding small meals, separating the water from the food, maybe by 10 feet, so they have to breathe before they go and gulp water. It's usually the fast eaters. Slowing down their eating. Maybe you can put some big rocks into the food bowl so that they have to eat a little slower. Or maybe you get one of those bowls that have the big ridges in them that slow them down. Anything to try to calm them down around dinner time might help prevent it. The other thing we can do for dogs that are overrepresented, like Great Danes, those dogs tend to go, 40% of them tend to bloat at one time or another in their life. So a lot of Great Danes die from bloat. So what you can do is when we're neutering those dogs or spaying them or castrating them, we can then go into the abdomen and tack that stomach as a preventive surgery. Talk to your veterinarian about that. I would do that to a Basset Hound. I'd do that to a German Shepherd. I would do that to a Weimaraner. I would do it to a large breed dog. And I do it often in my practice, and I do it to my own dogs because that bloat is so serious and life-threatening that we want to try to do whatever we can to prevent it. I wish I could give you better advice as far as what you could do so you'd absolutely guarantee your dog would never bloat. We don't have that because we don't fully understand what causes it. But there you go. That's the information on bloat. Large breed dogs, you can tack them down when they're younger, tack the stomach down to prevent them from twisting. But as they're older, just remember, no exercise around eating time. Make sure they're calm. Small, frequent meals are better than one large meal. I hope that helps you. Thank you for tuning in. And remember, don't just live and let live, but live and help live.